Today's show is sponsored by Kyrios Consulting. That is Kyrios with a Y, Kyrios. Real estate investing can be intimidating. That's why you don't do it alone. Kyrios Consulting gets you from no real estate to your first rental property. My friend Steve did it right here in New Hampshire, and he wants to help other Christians do the same. Visit consultingbykyrios.com. Again, that's with a Y, consultingbykyrios.com. No more excuses. The world needs more Christians with passive income, not more passive Christians. Make it happen. The link is in the description. Huge announcement, guys. Absolutely enormous. This is the kind of thing that this is why the internet is good, right? The internet, it gives you the opportunity to see something that's never been done before, something that takes a lot of courage and bravery and it's something that you do with a real heavy heart. And it's just great. The internet allows us to see this kind of courage and to see someone that's finally putting stuff out there that we've needed for so long. We've needed it, and nobody was willing to rise up and cross that red line and just make it happen. You know what I mean? I'll see a little bit of that in myself. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, when I first started doing my content about the woke church. Nobody was doing it. Nobody was willing to come out and say, hey, this is not right. This is not good. And all that kind of thing. And I bravely kind of stepped up to the plate and called my shot. And, the rest is history. I mean, ever since then, people came out of the woodwork to say, hey, yeah, I agree. That doesn't sound very right, and all of that. So I see a lot of this in myself as well. Just absolutely enormous, massive announcement. You love to see it. Nathan Wells, the Nathan Wells, has decided to launch a blog called Doug Wilson Says, a blog dedicated to talking about why Pastor Doug Wilson, is actually a big meanie. And he's unqualified for ministry. He doesn't understand the gospel and all of these kinds of things that it's never been done before. And I am so happy to read the announcement of this blog. Nathan Wells. Nathan Wells, who knows who he is, but it doesn't matter because, sometimes right when you need it, right when you really need it, somebody steps up. Somebody comes out of the woodwork and says, no, I will take up this mantle. I will bring the ring to Mount Doom. I will do it. Nobody knew who Frodo was back in the day, but he came out and he decided to take the ring, and he'd bear the burden. And Nathan Wells here, he's willing to bear the burden. I mean, it's just amazing. You what you find, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. And this is the hero we need right now. It's as simple as that. I think thinking about that song with the dude and the other dude, and you say that a hero could save us. That's what's going on. Ever since I read this announcement, this is epic announcement. This has been just in my mind. The hero that we need is here, Nathan Wells. And the thing is, he came out of retirement too. Like a lot of people were noticing, like he hasn't tweeted in 2 years, and then he came out with this epic announcement 2 years later. And what that shows to me is that this has been a burdensome decision. This has been a heavy decision. In fact, he even says that. I'm going to read let's just read his announcement and give him all of the attention that he deserves, that he needs, that he wants. Here's what Nathan Wells says. After living here in Moscow, Idaho for nearly 6 years, my wife and I have soberly, well, as long as it's sober. If it's sober, then we need to perk up. And he lives in Moscow, and him and his wife have both decided, kind of together, that they can, and they've been sober about it the whole time. Soberly come to the conviction that we can no longer remain silent regarding the ministry and influence of Doug Wilson, a local pastor who garners a national, if not international, following. I mean, there's a lot there, and let's just continue. He's opening the DougWilsonSays.com blog. This is going to be really, really good because there's going to be a lot of new stuff here, and it's going to be so good. So let's just continue. Nathan Wells. He says, "It is with a heavy heart that we will be launching a blog detailing the reasons we have come to believe that Doug Wilson teaches a distorted gospel and does not meet the requirements set in Scripture for the position of elder." What could he possibly mean? This is going to be a scoop. He's got the scoop. And this is going to be, this is going to blow our socks off. It's as simple as that. Doug Wilson, him and his wife, they've both agreed. They were sober. They've got as long as they're sober and have a heavy heart, we got to pay attention. They have come to believe that Doug Wilson does not meet the requirements set in Scripture for the position of elder. And he teaches a distorted gospel. This is a gospel issue. This is a gospel issue. And if your ears don't perk up the minute somebody and his wife say they soberly considered it, and they have a heavy heart, and they can no longer remain silent. Him and his wife, they can no longer remain silent. If your ears don't perk up, I don't know if you even have a heartbeat. This is a gospel issue. This is a gospel issue. If you're so inclined, we would appreciate it if you would follow the blog on Facebook. It's on Facebook, guys. And on Twitter, Doug Wilson Says. We do not hate Doug Wilson or his followers. Well, of course not. Of course not. Of course you don't hate Doug Wilson and his followers. This is because you did this sober-minded, and you have a heavy heart. You and your wife. You have a heavy heart. But rather it is out of love for them and others who have been harmed by his teaching. We feel that it's necessary to take this stand. Here he and his wife stand. Here he and his wife stand. They can do no other. He and his wife both stand. They cannot stand silent anymore. They must speak. They must speak at the harm that Doug Wilson has perpetrated upon his disciples, his followers. We appreciate your prayers that the truth would be heard and that the gospel will be God would be glorified. This is a gospel issue. And the glory of God, of course, is his primary reason for doing this. And he did it sober-minded with a heavy heart. He and his wife have decided they can no longer remain silent. And they're going to tell you why Doug Wilson is a heretic and unqualified for ministry. These are things that we desperately, sorely needed. We needed this. This is exactly what we needed. Another concern blog about Doug Wilson. That's what we need. A blog dedicated. You think to yourself, like, when I started my channel, I was thinking to myself, like, man, like, I feel like I have something to say, and I don't see anyone else saying it. That was the key. I don't see anyone else saying it. So I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm going to say what very few are saying. That's what I thought to myself. And what I missed the boat, though, because really what we really needed, nobody else was talking about it, was a blog about how Doug Wilson is unqualified for ministry and he teaches a distorted gospel. He and his wife. Oh man. This is good stuff, man. This is good stuff. I gotta say, like, it's just so amazing to me. Like, you put a few, like, key terms in there. You got to put in that you soberly, heavy heart. Like, it's very emotive language. It's just very typical. And then, of course, it's he and his wife. They've talked about it, and they've discussed it. And they've decided, him and his wife have decided that they must do this. This is what's desperately needed right now. Another concern blog about Doug Wilson. And I gotta say, bringing the wife into it, it's just such a beta move, man. It is a beta move. This is a beta move. Because what it does is it kind of, it doesn't take full responsibility for the blowback and for the nonsense, right? Like, it's not just him, it's him and his wife. And so it kind of distributes the blowback between the two of them. And a lot of people read this the way I read it when my wife told me we're doing this now. And that's basically how I read it. My wife said we're going to do this, and so we're doing it. But even if that was the case, like I discuss things with my wife as well. But number one, I don't Like I don't. It's just too much, man. As a husband, I want to insulate my wife from this kind of thing. So my wife's opinions about various topics, I don't put them out there front and center. I don't try to distribute the blame for what I say online to my wife. Like, even if I ask my wife permission to do my content, which I do not do that. I do talk about my content with my wife, but I do not ask her permission to do it. But even if I did, you would think that one of the things you would want to do is insulate her from that, so she bears none of the responsibility for what I do. And so you don't know which of my opinions that my wife is totally on board with, and which of my opinions that give her some nice womanly concern, because there are some. She is a woman after all, and so she's not going to share every single kind of style that I have. I mean, hopefully not. And there's going to be things that I say and ways that I say things where on the inside, because she doesn't show this externally, because she's a good wife, on the inside, she's like, man, I wouldn't have said it that way. You know what I mean? Did you have to say it that way? Like that kind of thing. There's things like that, but you don't know which ones. And the reason why you don't know which ones are because I don't tell you, because I'm not trying to dish off some of the blowback, the blame. Like everything that I say, I own completely. But not this guy. This guy decided that he's gonna, with a heavy heart, and so I'm very soberly considering this. Like we're supposed to take that very seriously. That's convincing language. Like that's the kind of language you use when you're trying to be very persuasive. But the problem with that kind of language, like that kind of convincing language, the problem with that is it often it has the opposite effect of what you intend, right? Like when you start to, use words like this that are attempting to be persuasive, a lot of times it comes across as that you're up to no good, but you're trying to persuade us that you're not. You know what I mean? Oh, sober-minded is a heavy heart. I don't want to do this, but I must do it. Like that kind of stuff often comes across as, yeah, you're full of it. And you're just trying to convince us that you're doing this because I really love Doug Wilson. I love him. And all the people he's abused over the years, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That kind of language very rarely works. And you should consider that when you're talking to people or you're writing an email. It's a little bit easier when you're writing an email, because sometimes when you're talking to someone, it just comes out, that kind of convincing language. It kind of just comes out. But when you're writing an email, you have time to consider how you're writing and things like that. And that kind of convincing language, it very rarely has the effect that you want it to be. If you want to look into this a little bit, you should watch some police interrogations with people that are guilty of sin, right? People that are guilty of sin, you watch how they get interrogated and how they defend themselves. And often they're using this convincing type language. And it just comes across as just so empty. It comes across as the opposite of what you're intending to do. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. So Nathan Wells comes out of retirement to launch a blog. 2 years of Twitter retirement, and he just peppers you with convincing language. I have a heavy heart. I love Doug Wilson. I do not hate him, but he's damaged so many people. This is just sad stuff, man. It is really sad stuff. I talked to so many people that left his church, and they gave me the real scoop. The real scoop. It's just really sad. This is going to be, I'm obviously not going to read this blog. Obviously not. But, because I've heard it all before. You know what I mean? I've heard it all before. This is not a scoop, obviously. This is not needed in any way, obviously. You know what I mean? Imagine, I'm going to write a concern blog about Doug Wilson. I mean, that's what we really need right now. I can't even fathom the mindset of Nathan Wells here. Let's take a look at the guy. Yeah. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Oh, man. Say no more. He earned a follow, though. I'll tell you that. He got a follow right there. I'm going to follow his Doug Wilson Says, too. Contending for the faith in Moscow, Idaho. Yes. Contending for the faith. This is going to be good, man. This is going to be good. Anyway, speaking of really gay stuff, the Protestia YouTube channel got copyright strike for leaking gay Christianity Campus Crusade for Christ gay Christianity materials. So I figured I'd just help them out and signal boost it. So here is what was copyright stricken. The video will be back soon because obviously it's fair use, obviously. But when you're psychopathic, you're like you've got to pull out all the stops to try to stop it. But Crew is gay now. Yeah, Crew is gay now. They've probably been gay for a while. So Campus Crusade for Christ has been subjecting its staff to nearly 7 hours of video materials promoting same-sex attraction, Side B Christianity, promoting patently unbiblical and damaging views on gender, sex, sin, and marriage, as evidenced by Crew curriculum that recently leaked online. Crew's LGBTQ accepting training materials features Revoice heretic Preston Sprinkle. Is that really his name? Does anybody know is his real name Preston Sprinkle? Did he change his name, or is he just Preston Sprinkle? Because what I've noticed over the years is that people that have certain proclivities, and especially evil people, they often have very appropriate names, just like in the Bible. Just like in the Bible, where you get names that embody what the person is, usurper and things like that. Like you get these names, and it's just like, man, God is. Do they like obviously God is behind it all, but do they change their name to match their soul, or do they just live up to their name that they're given? And I think a lot of times they just live up to the name that they're given. So keep that in mind when you're naming your children. Don't name them Preston Sprinkle if you don't want them to grow up to be a homosexual. It's just my opinion, of course. Just my opinion. Mixed orientation marriage Rachel Gilson telling Crew staffers that God is powerless over homosexual attraction. Comparisons between the church's supposed bad treatment of the LGBT community and Nazi treatment of gays and full acceptance of homosexual and transgender as cultures needing gospel contextualization just like any other ethnicity. Within the various training videos, Crew staff are encouraged to agree with and live out our theological teachings, both Side A, open homosexuality and Christianity, and Side B, celibate homosexuality theology, and accept the unbiblical presuppositions that God created people as homosexuals and transgender. Trainees are encouraged to change how they believe instead of what they believe in order to be sensitive to the LGBT community. Imagine being like on campus, college students, that's your primary mission field, and soft pedaling homosexuality. Like you have to have your priorities all messed up foundationally to do something like that. It's just so inappropriate. It's so ungodly. It's just the worst possible thing you can do to soft pedal one of the primary sins that's being pushed on us to young men and women. It's just the worst case scenario. But that's what Crew's all about now. They gay now. The training materials feature Side B mainstays like same-sex attracted lesbian Rebecca McLaughlin, Gospel Coalition contributor and reparations hustler Justin Giboney, telling trainees to somehow affirm the human dignity and flourishing of LGBT folks without affirming behaviors and belief. And Bivy, the self-described transgenders, cisgenders, and whatever genders, encouraging Crew members to deliberately avoid confrontation regarding behavior the Bible clearly attributes to those who are lost and dead in trespasses and sins, given over to shameful lusts. Crew has been exposed for years as falling down the social justice and cultural Marxism rabbit hole, famously evident in 2015, 2017, and 2019 conferences, for being funded by George Soros going back as far as 2012, and for recently ignoring their own staff who documented multitudinous problems with the organization in a comprehensive expose. The organization's Christ-dishonoring compromises have been chronicled by John Harris, Allie Beth Stuckey, The Dissenter, World Magazine, and right here at Protestia. Yet this recent leak is perhaps the most comprehensive evidence since last year at Liberty University, when Rosaria Butterfield infamously called out Revoice's Preston Sprinkles Exiles in Babylon conference, sponsored by his heretical Center for Faith, Sexuality, Gender, and Crew, as organizations subversively pushing side B theology on unsuspecting Christian college students. In response to the oohs from the crowd, Butterfield reminded them, "I got receipts, people. I got receipts." Now the receipts include Crew's indoctrination video training, which is sure to expose what the organization would much rather keep hidden from donors who still believe it is promoting biblical Christianity on college campuses. Watch a small but indefensible sampling of their training below. So this video is the one that will be back because there's no way that this is a copyright infringement. But it's indefensible, of course. So they made the video unavailable. They put a copyright claim on it. Pretty gay. Pretty gay. And much like Nathan over here, can you imagine thinking, let's pull up Nathan's picture here. This is this guy. Nathan thinks what we definitely need right now is a Doug Wilson concern blog. Crew thinks that college students need affirmation of their LGBTQ culture. Affirmation. That's what we need right now. In a world where there's an entire month dedicated to celebrating perversion in the streets of our cities. Rainbow flags flying everywhere. Even baseball's gay now. Baseball's gay. What we need right now is a Christianity that affirms the culture and the gospel treasure of the gay lifestyle. That's what we need. If I wasn't a very positive person in general, I'd be pretty black-pilled right now. I can't believe that people like this exist. Like this. I guess I can. I guess I can. But yeah, anyway, this about sums it up, doesn't it? This about sums it up. Nathan Wells contending for the faith, him and his wife contending for the faith in Moscow, Idaho. That is sure to be interesting. But maybe I'll do a video about the Crew video once it comes back. I'll do a quick response video to it because Crew wants to hide it. They want to copyright claim it. So a guy like me sees that as a responsibility. Here I stand. Here I stand. I cannot be silent anymore. I must signal boost, and I will. I will absolutely be signal boosting the old Crew gay training. That's what I will be doing. So look forward to that. Also, I heard, if you'd like, let me know if you want me to do this. I've heard that our good friend Owen Strawn has put out another Christian nationalism video. Very concerned that we have rejected the Constitution and we've crossed the red line, and the Bible won't stand for it, and neither will Owen. Here he stands. Owen, here he cannot be silent anymore. He cannot. Let me know if you want me to do an 8-part video about that. So we'll take it as it comes. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.